This week marks 2 years since the United States launched a program to resettle refugees displaced by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The policy known as Uniting for Ukraine has allowed U.S. citizens to sponsor the arrival of more than 100,000 Ukrainian refugees with resounding efficiency and relatively little controversy. CBS News immigration and politics reporter Camilo Montoya-Galvez met one family admitted to the United States through the program.
10-year-old Yana has a bright smile and big dreams. What do you love about the U.S.?
U.S. is very, very, very nice. I like the flowers. People aren't being mean to anybody. They're being nice.
They're being nice to you.
Yeah.
And you feel safe here in the U.S.
Yeah.
But roughly 2 years ago, Yana and her family were still in Ukraine. Yana's mother, Olena Kupchak, remembers the very moment when the war upended their lives. We heard powerful explosions, she says, and we could not believe it at the beginning. Our house was literally moving. It started to shake. We thought it was the end. Russia's invasion of Ukraine has displaced millions of refugees, most of them women and children, triggering the largest refugee exodus in Europe since World War II. As other European countries receive these refugees, President Biden quickly followed suit.
We've also will welcome 100,000 Ukrainians to the United States with a focus on reuniting families.
In April of 2022, his administration created Uniting for Ukraine, allowing an unlimited number of Ukrainians sponsored by Americans to come to the U.S. and work here legally.
I didn't sleep on that night when the program was launched. I was sitting at midnight waiting for the website to open.
Olena's sister, Lana Rogers, is a U.S. citizen living in New Jersey. She sponsored Olena and her family, who made it to the U.S. in June of 2022. You're happy to have your family here in the U.S.?
Oh, absolutely. I love it. Yana is like my third daughter, you know, so whichever my kids... She's saying, Yana spending all the weekends in your house, the girls having sleepovers all the time.
Olena and her husband have since found jobs and an apartment.
I'm coming down to get it!
And Yana can now just focus on being a kid. Does she like going to school here in the U.S.?
Yana's very happy at school. Just every day go, Mama, I need to come, very quickly, go, as every day.
She's very happy and she wants to go to school every day.
Yeah.
With little backlash, the U.S. has approved over 236,000 Uniting for Ukraine cases, often in just weeks, a rarity in a backlogged immigration system.
I think it shows how the U.S. can act with swiftness when it wants to.
Refugee advocate Krish Amara Vignaraja says other migrants fleeing desperate circumstances, like Haitians and Venezuelans, should receive the same welcome.
Just as racism and xenophobia have penetrated so many elements of our society, it did factor into the unique treatment that Ukrainians received.
Did you play soccer with the girls?
Ukrainians like Olena still face obstacles. Their permission to be in the U.S. expires every 2 years. The U.S. has argued that most Ukrainians will eventually go home, but there's no telling when the war will end. The Russians are constantly bombing your town.
Every day.
Every day.
Bomb.
You cannot go back to Ukraine.
No, I not come back. But I not have no house, I not have nothing.
Hi, John. Olena and her family were just given permission to stay in the U.S. for another 2 years, but they do not have a path to permanent status and American citizenship. And in addition to the tens of thousands of Ukrainians who have arrived under this Uniting for Ukraine policy, another 350,000 Ukrainians have arrived outside of that process since the start of the Russian invasion.
Tell me about the 350, where that's 350,000. What's the mechanism that allows them to come in?
Well, many of them have come here under the traditional visa process as tourist visa holders or as holders of visas for direct family members of U.S. citizens and permanent residents. Some of them are actually Ukrainians who flew to Mexico during the start of the invasion and then were processed by U.S. border officials. U.S. border officials in April of 2022 processed around 25,000 Ukrainians before this program was formally set up. So in total, it's over 500,000 Ukrainian arrivals, which is a very significant number.
Camilo, you cover this issue so well, and you know all the different gradations. Why has there not been the backlash for the Ukrainian migration that we've seen with other populations?
Well, one reason I think, John, is geopolitics. Ukrainian refugees, frankly, enjoy bipartisan support that is increasingly rare in immigration policy and politics because they are seen as victims of this anti-American regime in Moscow. And the other reason is because of the nature of this Uniting for Ukraine program. Arrivals under that policy can work here legally immediately after setting foot here on American soil. They also need a financial sponsor in the first place to come here, and early on, they were eligible for refugee resettlement benefits, including food stamps. So they did not create the same logistical, operational, and economic burdens and challenges that receiving communities face when they started housing hundreds of thousands of migrants coming across the border. And I should mention that some refugee advocates argue that race is also a factor because they believe that Ukrainians may be perceived as more compatible to U.S. communities than other migrants.
Is there any way that model can be used for other populations?
The Biden administration will argue yes, because they actually have created a very similar program for migrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. But that program is capped at 30,000 arrivals per month. Uniting for Ukraine is unlimited, and that program is also being challenged in court by Republican-led states. Uniting for Ukraine is not.
Camilo Montoya-Galvez, tremendous as always.
John.
Thanks a lot.